Imagine for a moment that the life you wake up to each day isn't as solid and unchanging as it seems. The walls around you, the familiar routines, even the thoughts you call your own, these may not be the unshakable facts you've always believed them to be. Picture reality instead as a vast ocean of possibilities, each ripple a potential path waiting to unfold. In this ocean, every choice you make and every feeling you hold sends out subtle vibrations, shaping the direction of your personal current. It is not a faraway theory. It is happening quietly, right now, beneath the surface of your awareness. Perhaps you've noticed certain days when everything seems to align effortlessly. A stranger offers a kind word just when you need it. An unexpected opportunity drifts into your life without warning. These moments are not coincidences. They are signals of the frequency you are resonating with. Your inner state acts like a tuning fork, drawing matching experiences to you. When you feel light, grateful, and open, you rise to meet a higher rhythm of life, and life responds in kind. But sometimes, despite your best intentions, the same frustrations seem to circle back. The same conversations play out with different faces. The same disappointments knock at your door. It is as if a silent pattern is pressing repeat, keeping you bound to a familiar storyline. You might even wonder why it happens when you've tried to change, when you've promised yourself to think differently or live with more purpose. Yet, the pattern lingers, almost invisible. Like a faint hum you can't quite silence. Consider the story of Mara, a woman who often found herself back at the same crossroads. No matter how many new jobs she took or how far she traveled, the same doubts returned. She would begin with excitement, only to feel the old fear of not being enough. Relationships echoed the same themes, partners changing, but the inner tension remaining. Mara thought she was starting fresh each time, but her unseen habits of thought and feeling were quietly scripting the same chapters. It wasn't fate or bad luck. It was frequency. Our lives are written not only by what we do, but by the energy we carry. The universe, like a great mirror, reflects the vibrations we emit. When Mara began to notice her own inner dialogue, those whispers of unworthiness, the subtle expectation of struggle, she discovered that she had been tuning herself to a lower station without realizing it. Each anxious thought, each self-criticism was like a quiet note pulling her toward a familiar, dense melody. And yet, the beauty of this truth is that no pattern is permanent. Just as a musician can change the key of a song, you can shift your own resonance. Often, it begins with something small, so small you might overlook it. A single moment of awareness, a single breath where you choose to feel gratitude instead of fear, a single decision to notice the present. Rather than relive the past, every subtle choice becomes a thread in the fabric of your frequency. The way you greet the morning, the thoughts you allow to linger, the quiet stories you tell yourself as you fall asleep, these are the unseen architects of your timeline. Your future is not a fixed path waiting at the end of a straight road. It is a living, breathing field, responsive to each shift of your inner state. Think of a radio dial gently turning. One slight movement and the static clears. A new song emerges. You do not need to build the music. It was already there, waiting for you to tune in. In the same way, higher possibilities are already present, shimmering just beyond the noise of habitual thoughts. You are not creating them from nothing. You are aligning with what has always been possible. This invitation to a higher frequency is not about striving or forcing. It is about remembering. Remembering that you are more than your patterns, more than the stories you've rehearsed. It is about becoming aware of the quiet power you hold, the power to choose a thought that uplifts, a feeling that softens, a perspective that opens. These gentle shifts ripple outward, transforming not only your experience of the world, but the very world that responds to you as you sit with this thought. Notice the subtle hum of your own inner energy. Is it heavy or light, restless or calm? There is no need to judge it. Simply observe, for observation itself is the beginning of transformation. The moment you notice, you have already stepped beyond the old pattern. You have begun to tune the dial. Mara's life began to change, not when she forced a new path, but when she quietly became aware of the vibration she carried. Each time she chose compassion over self-criticism. Each time she paused to breathe before reacting, her frequency lifted and her timeline shifted. Opportunities appeared where once there were obstacles. Relationships blossomed where once there was distance. The change was not loud, but it was profound. And so, as you listen now, perhaps a gentle question arises. What if you, too, are replaying patterns without realizing it? What if an unseen habit is quietly shaping your reality, keeping you tuned to a station that no longer reflects who you truly are? The answer lies ahead, waiting to be uncovered. There is an invisible habit, subtle yet powerful, that may be slowing your quantum shift. In the next moments, we will explore what it is and how to release it, so you can rise into the frequency where your truest life awaits. Understanding the timeline concept, standing at the edge of a vast landscape at twilight, where countless rivers shimmer under the fading sun. Each river follows its own course. Some twist through gentle meadows, others rush into deep valleys. You can see only one stretch of water at a time, yet you sense that many streams flow side by side, each carrying its own story. This is the essence of the timeline we speak of. Not a single road you are forced to walk, but a collection of possibilities, each as real as the one you now inhabit. In many ancient traditions, time has never been a straight arrow. Vedic sages spoke of cycles within cycles, where ages rise and fall like tides. Indigenous elders described life's path as a great weaving, where many strands coexist, waiting to be chosen. These voices from the past invite us to loosen our grip on the idea of a single, fixed destiny. They whisper that what you call your life might be one of many rivers, and that your presence decides which current carries you. Modern physics offers a surprising echo. In the world of quantum mechanics, the observer effect reveals that the very act of noticing can influence the outcome. Electrons behave like scattered possibilities until someone looks. Only then do they settle into a definite pattern. This is not to say that your life is a science experiment, but it suggests a profound truth. The reality you live is not separate from the way you see and feel. Your attention, like a subtle hand, shapes the flow. Think for a moment about how a single choice can shift the course of a day. You pause before speaking, or decide to walk instead of drive. And suddenly, a chance meeting or unexpected thought changes everything. These moments are glimpses of the hidden, branching rivers. Each choice is less about logic and more about the quality of your inner state. The mood, the quiet belief, the emotion you carry like a secret fragrance. It is this inner atmosphere that guides you toward one timeline or another. Consider the times when life seemed to unfold effortlessly. Perhaps you were at peace without forcing events into place, and doors opened as though the world conspired to meet you. Contrast that with days of tension, when every step felt uphill and even simple tasks resisted. The outer details may differ, but the inner difference is unmistakable. Your state of being, the quiet hum of thoughts and feelings, acts as the compass. It does not merely respond to circumstances. It gently shapes them. Imagine your awareness as a boat gliding across those many rivers. The water is calm, but subtle currents invite you toward certain channels. Your thoughts are the steering, or your emotions the wind in the sails. You need not strain to control the river. You simply notice which direction feels aligned and let the gentle force of attention guide you. In this way, you are not a passenger to fate, but a quiet participant in creation. Ancient wisdom and quantum science may speak different languages, yet both point to this hidden artistry. The Vedic cycles remind us that time itself is a dance, repeating and renewing. The observer effect whispers that reality waits for the glance of consciousness. Together, they invite a gentle but radical idea. You are not locked into a single story. The river you travel is chosen in the soft spaces of your own awareness. This understanding is not meant to burden you with constant vigilance. It is an invitation to relaxation. When you realize that presence, not frantic effort, selects your path, the pressure to force outcomes begins to dissolve. You can breathe and simply notice. By tending to your inner climate, by cultivating calm curiosity and quiet gratitude, you naturally drift toward the timeline that reflects those qualities. The rivers respond not to control, but to resonance. So, as you listen, let your mind rest on the image of those countless streams at twilight. Each one is a possibility already flowing, waiting for the gentle nudge of your attention. Ask yourself, without hurry or judgment, which river am I sailing now? And beneath that question lies another, softer still. What subtle mood, what quiet habit of thought has guided me to this particular current? The subtle saboteurs of frequency. Imagine for a moment that your life is a radio station, always broadcasting on a unique frequency. The music of your experiences plays out in the relationships you build, the opportunities you attract, and the inner peace you feel. Yet, hidden in the quiet spaces of everyday life, tiny bits of static slip in so faint you might not notice at first. Over time, this static grows gently but persistently, detuning your signal. These subtle saboteurs aren't dramatic villains. They are the small, familiar habits of thought and feeling that you carry like invisible stones. One of the most persistent forms of static is negative self-talk. It can begin with a whisper, a quiet question about whether you are enough, or a soft echo of someone else's old criticism. Over the years, these whispers weave into a soundtrack that plays beneath every decision you make. You may catch yourself thinking, "I always mess this up," or "Why can't I be more like them?" These words don't just live in your head. They ripple into the energy you send out. The universe responds not only to your actions, but to the subtle vibration of your thoughts. When the music of your inner station carries notes of self-doubt, it becomes easy to attract experiences that confirm the tune. Another saboteur hides in the act of constant comparison. It often masquerades as harmless curiosity, scrolling through someone else's life, admiring their success, their calm, their beauty. But beneath the surface, each comparison gently lowers the dial of your own frequency. Like a radio pulling in two channels at once, you begin to hear the distortion of your unique song competing with someone else's melody. The more you measure yourself against another's highlight reel, the more you invite the belief that your own station isn't enough. And in that belief, you unknowingly broadcast lack. Then there is the quiet weight of unconscious worry. Worry often arrives disguised as responsibility. You might tell yourself you are simply being careful, preparing for what could go wrong. But worry is different from preparation. It is a rehearsal for outcomes you don't want. Each time you replay what-if scenarios, you become both the scriptwriter and the observer of a lower frequency story. Quantum physics tells us the observer effect shapes what is seen. In much the same way, your attention to unwanted possibilities gives them a stage. Without realizing it, you keep tuning your life toward the very static you fear. These habits, negative self-talk, comparison, and worry, are not flaws in your character. They are natural responses to a world that often rewards vigilance and competition. Recognizing them is not about blame, but about awareness. Awareness is the first gentle step toward freedom. Think of it as noticing the static on the dial. The moment you hear the crackle, you can reach for the knob and begin to adjust. Sometimes, the adjustment begins with a single breath. Breathing in, you acknowledge the thought without judgment. Ah, there's that old belief again. Breathing out, you allow it to drift past like a cloud. Each breath creates a small pause, and in that pause, your frequency begins to rise. You are no longer entangled with the thought. You are the one observing it, free to choose a different signal. Compassion is key. You might be tempted to fight these habits, to scold yourself for having them. But resistance only adds more static. Instead, imagine placing a gentle hand over the heart and saying inwardly, "It's okay. These thoughts once tried to protect me." Such kindness loosens the grip of the saboteurs far more effectively than force. The heart, after all, is its own transmitter of frequency, and compassion is one of its highest notes. As you continue to tune inward, you may begin to notice patterns. How a single moment of self-doubt leads to comparison. How comparison breeds worry, and how worry invites more doubt. It is like a looped signal playing the same low note again and again. Breaking the loop does not require dramatic change. It asks only for gentle, steady returning, choosing again and again to shift from fear to trust, from judgment to acceptance. And yet, among these subtle saboteurs, there is one habit that quietly wields the greatest power to lower your frequency. The belief that you are separate from the very harmony you seek. Beneath the self-talk, beneath the comparisons and the worry, lies a single illusion that you are somehow apart from the source of love and possibility. This belief is the deepest, static, because it convinces you that you must earn connection rather than simply remember it. But the truth is simpler and more radiant. You are not a distant listener trying to catch a faint broadcast. You are the station itself, the origin of the signal, the song already playing. When you recognize this, the quiet habits lose their hold. Negative self-talk softens, comparison fades, and worry dissolves like mist under the morning sun. The static was never stronger than your own melody. It only needed you to notice and to gently turn the music that has always been yours. The one habit that lowers your frequency. Every seeker of higher consciousness eventually encounters a quiet but stubborn obstacle, one so ordinary it can go unnoticed for years. It isn't the chaos of the world or the mistakes of others. It is the silent habit of resisting what is. It can be as subtle as a quiet inner no whispered to the present moment. Perhaps it's the replay of an argument long finished, the mental grip on how someone should behave, or the endless story that life must unfold only on your terms. These hidden refusals create a vibration of tension, a faint static that lowers the frequency of your entire being. When we cling to judgment, the present moment becomes a battleground rather than a sanctuary. The mind, believing it can control outcomes, loops through scenarios like a director obsessed with a script that life never agreed to perform. Yet every replay of how it should have been or how it must be keeps the observer, your deeper awareness, locked in the very reality you wish to change. It is like holding the door shut while complaining that no fresh air can enter. The more tightly you grip, the more life mirrors back the same pattern. Again and again, because you are vibrating at the frequency of resistance itself. Imagine standing beside a river. Its current moves freely, carrying leaves, light, and reflections downstream. Now picture yourself thrusting a branch into the water, pushing hard against the flow. You feel the strain in your muscles, the tremor in your hands. The river continues anyway, but the tension belongs to you. Resisting the present moment is like that. Life keeps flowing, yet the effort to oppose it drains your energy and dims your natural radiance. Your frequency lowers not because life is against you, but because you are caught in the friction of your own stance. Manifestation thrives on openness. The more you release the need for every detail to match your mental blueprint, the more the quantum field can surprise you. Ancient mystics and modern scientists alike point to this observer effect. Reality responds to the state of the one who watches. If the watcher is tense, reality reflects tension. If the watcher is spacious and willing, reality has room to rearrange. This is not passive surrender, but an active, conscious allowing. It is the quiet courage to say, I am here, fully, without demanding that this moment be other than it is. Consider Maya's story. For years, she tried to manifest a career. Change. She repeated affirmations, made vision boards, and followed every technique she could find. Yet, nothing shifted. One evening, exhausted by her own effort, she sat by her bedroom window and simply gave up, not in despair, but in a soft acceptance. She watched the city lights flicker and whispered, if this is where I'm meant to be, I allow it. In that instant, the tight knot in her chest loosened. Days later, a colleague unexpectedly introduced her to a project in a completely different field. Within weeks, opportunities opened with a natural ease she had never known. Maya hadn't stopped caring about her dreams. She had stopped resisting the present moment. Her story is not unique. When you release the compulsion to control, life often rearranges itself with an elegance that defies planning. It is as if the universe has been waiting for you to drop the rope so it can show you a path you could never have drawn. This surrender is not resignation. It is alignment. It is the recognition that the present is not an enemy to outsmart, but a living doorway to everything you seek. Notice the subtle signs of resistance in your own life. Perhaps it is the tension in your shoulders when someone disagrees with you, or the mental replay of an event you wish had gone differently. These moments invite you to pause and breathe. Instead of tightening your grip, try softening into the simple fact of now. Feel the ground beneath you, the rhythm of your breath, the gentle hum of life moving through you. In that softness, your frequency rises naturally, not by force, but by the release of the very habit that once held it down. As you rest in this state of allowance, the quantum field begins to respond in kind. Possibilities that seemed distant edges closer. Coincidences, those quiet winks from the universe, begin to thread through your days. What once felt like effort becomes a dance of timing and trust. And you, the observer, discover that by surrendering resistance, you have not lost control. You have stepped into the deeper intelligence that guides all things. So, the next time you feel the urge to push against what is, remember the river. Let the current carry you. Your highest frequency is not found in the struggle to bend life to your will. It emerges when you finally allow life to flow through you, unresisted, and watch as your reality transforms. Ancient wisdom on surrender, long before modern science began exploring the mysteries of consciousness. Ancient sages were already whispering the same truth, that true power lies not in control, but in the art of letting go. Across continents and centuries, wise teachers observed that life carries its own rhythm, and that resisting it is like trying to dam a mighty river with bare hands. Their insights invite us into a quieter, more effortless way of being, one that modern minds often overlook. In the soft valleys of ancient China, Taoist philosophers spoke of Wu, a term often translated as effortless action. But Wu is more than simply doing nothing. Imagine floating downstream on a gentle current. You are not passive. You are aware, adjusting your balance as the river bends, but you do not fight the water's flow. Laozi, the sage behind Tao Te Ching, described this as the ultimate wisdom, to align with the natural order rather than struggle against it. For the Taoists, surrender was not about weakness. It was a skill, a subtle mastery of moving with the energy of life itself. Far to the west, early Christian mystics echoed this wisdom in their own language. In the Lord's Prayer, the phrase, "Thy will be done," captures the heart of surrender. To those first followers of Jesus, this was not blind obedience, but a radical trust that a deeper intelligence moves through creation. They believed that by yielding to divine will, a person did not lose freedom, but found a higher kind of freedom. The freedom to live in harmony with a plan far greater than any human could design. This trust gave them courage, even in the face of persecution and uncertainty. Surrender became an act of strength, a quiet courage to let love, rather than fear, guide the way. Meanwhile, in the meditative forests of India and the mountain monasteries of Tibet, Buddhist teachers spoke of non-attachment. The Buddha observed that clinging to people, possessions, even ideas was the root of suffering. Non-attachment did not mean indifference. Rather, it meant holding life lightly, like a bird, resting on an open palm, free to come and go. To practice this art of release was to discover an inner spaciousness where joy arises naturally. The great teachers taught that when we let go of our desperate need to control outcomes, we begin to experience reality as it truly is, fluid, ever-changing, and full of wonder. These traditions, though separated by geography and culture, converge on a single revelation. Surrender is not defeat. It is a higher kind of intelligence, a wisdom that recognizes the limits of the individual self and trusts in something vaster. Taoism, Christianity, and Buddhism each offer their own metaphors, yet their message flows together like three rivers. Joining one sea, the Taoist flows with nature's current. The Christian opens to divine will. The Buddhist releases the grip of attachment. Each path leads to the same quiet freedom. Consider the lives of those who embodied these truths. Taoist hermits withdrew into mist-covered mountains, letting the seasons guide their days. Christian saints, like Teresa of Avila, surrendered their ambitions and found an unshakable peace that no earthly power could touch. Buddhist monks sat for hours in silent meditation, watching thoughts drift like clouds across the sky. Their stories remind us that surrender is not an escape from life, but a deeper participation in its mystery. By stepping aside, they discovered a presence far greater than their own plans. Why does this wisdom endure across time and culture? Perhaps because it speaks to something universal in the human heart. Every age wrestles with uncertainty, be it famine or empire, war or personal loss. The call to surrender does not promise an end to challenges. Instead, it offers a way to meet life's unpredictability with grace. When we stop fighting the current, we discover that the river itself carries us toward growth, even when we cannot see the distant shore. For those listening tonight, seeking solace or a quiet awakening, these ancient teachings are more than distant history. They are an invitation. What would it feel like to loosen the tight grip of control, even for a moment? To trust that life, in its mysterious intelligence, knows how to unfold. Perhaps the sages of old understood a truth that modern science is only beginning to glimpse, that consciousness itself is not confined to our personal will, but part of a greater, interconnected field. Quantum science meets ancient insight. Imagine standing at the edge of an endless ocean at night, the moonlight scattered across gentle waves. From a distance, the water seems to move as one vast, shimmering sheet. But the moment you lean closer, you notice each ripple taking on its own shape, as if the ocean reveals a secret pattern only when you truly look. This simple scene whispers the same truth that both quantum science and ancient wisdom have tried to share for centuries. Our observation matters. The very act of noticing transforms what is possible into what becomes real. Physicists call this the observer effect. In the quantum world, particles do not have fixed positions until they are measured. They exist as possibilities, a cloud of potential outcomes, until observation nudges them into one definite form. It is as if the universe waits for attention before it chooses a path. Ancient mystics spoke of something strikingly similar. They believed that reality responds to consciousness, that life is not merely happening to us, but with us. What modern laboratories describe in mathematical symbols, sages once described in poetry and parable. Both point to a profound mystery. Your awareness is not a passive witness. It is an active participant. Think of your life as a vast field of possibilities, each moment like a shimmering wave of potential. Every worry, every hope, every quiet thought is a subtle form of observation. When you cling tightly to fear or control, it is as though you stare at a single outcome until it hardens like a particle. But when you release your grip, when you surrender, something remarkable happens. The field remains fluid a little longer, and life has room to select an outcome beyond what you can imagine. Surrender is not defeat. It is the quiet trust that allows the universe to surprise you. Ancient teachers often spoke of surrender as a sacred act. To them, letting go was not weakness, but wisdom. It was the recognition that our limited perspective cannot see every thread in the tapestry. In quantum terms, we might say that surrender keeps the wave from collapsing too soon. The intensity of our measurement, we give reality permission to choose a higher expression. It is as if we stop forcing the particle into shape and instead allow the wave to reveal something more magnificent than our plans could design. Consider the metaphor of the wave and the particle. A wave represents endless potential. A particle, a single, chosen reality. When you observe with tension, when you demand a specific outcome, you collapse the wave prematurely. But when you observe with openness, when you rest in curiosity and trust, the universe has room to arrange a particle that aligns with something greater than your current understanding. This is not about ignoring action or floating without direction. It is about engaging with life from a state of calm awareness rather than anxious control. Science and spirituality meet here in a gentle dance. The laboratory teaches that measurement shapes matter. The mystic teaches that surrender shapes destiny. Together, they whisper, your consciousness is creative. Not in the sense of forcing outcomes, but in the way your inner state subtly guides the probabilities that surround you. When you release resistance, you become like the moonlit ocean, reflecting without grasping, allowing patterns of light to emerge on their own. This perspective invites a new way to practice self-awareness. Begin by noticing the places in your life where you hold on too tightly. It may be a relationship you are afraid to lose, a dream you fear will not come true, or a worry that loops endlessly in your mind. Pause and feel the tension in your body as you think of it. That tension is a form of measurement. It is the mind's way of collapsing possibility into a single story. Now imagine that same ocean again. Each breath you take is like a softening of the waves. As you inhale, sense the endless field of possibilities. As you exhale, let the tension in your chest melt, as if the particle you once forced to appear is gently dissolving back into the wave. This is the essence of surrender. Not giving up, but giving space. Practical self-awareness begins with such simple steps. When a troubling thought arises, acknowledge it without judgment, as if watching a cloud drift across the sky. When a desire feels urgent, breathe and notice where your body tightens. The very act of noticing loosens the grip. In those moments of presence, you are no longer a narrow observer pressing reality into a corner. You are a spacious witness, allowing the field to shimmer. Ancient insight and quantum science converge in this practice. The mystics knew that to know oneself is to release oneself. The physicists show that the universe is not a static machine, but a living dance of probabilities. And you, standing at the edge of that moonlit ocean, are both participants and witnesses. Your surrender is not a retreat. It is a quiet invitation for life to unfold in ways your mind alone could never script as you carry this understanding forward. Let each breath remind you, the wave holds infinite potential, and you are the gentle observer. By releasing resistance, you allow reality to choose the highest particle on your behalf, a reality more luminous than anything you could force into being. Recognizing resistance in daily life, imagine settling into a quiet evening, the day's noise fading into a gentle hush. As you breathe, you may notice something you rarely pause to acknowledge, a subtle tension resting on your shoulders, a tiny knot beneath the surface of awareness. Resistance often hides here, not as an enemy, but as a quiet companion, shaping the rhythm of our thoughts and the softness of our breath. To recognize it is not to fight it, but to see it as it is, like noticing a faint cloud drifting across the night sky. Resistance wears many disguises. Sometimes it appears as a persistent loop of thoughts, those familiar phrases that replay when the world slows down. What if I had said this? Why hasn't that happened yet? Thoughts are like restless birds fluttering from branch to branch, never quite settling. At other times, resistance settles into the body. It might tighten your jaw without you realizing, or weigh your chest with an unspoken heaviness. These small signs are not failures to be fixed. They are messages inviting you to listen. Like a soft echo in a quiet canyon, they simply ask to be noticed. You may feel the urge to control, to plan the next step before the present one is even complete. Perhaps you catch yourself rehearsing conversations or mapping out tomorrow while today still breathes around you. This too is resistance. It is the mind's attempt to shield itself from uncertainty by clinging to what it can predict. Yet, the very act of clinging creates friction. like a hand gripping a rope. The tighter the grip, the more it burns. Observing this urge, without judging or rushing to change it, is the first gentle step toward freedom. Notice how resistance speaks differently to each person. For some, it's the restless need to check a phone again and again, as though the next notification holds relief. For others, it might be the quiet dread that stirs when silence grows too deep. There is no single shape it takes, no single name to give it. And that is why recognition begins, not with rules, but with curiosity. Like a traveler stepping onto an unfamiliar path at dusk, you simply begin to notice what is already here, allowing each sensation, each thought to reveal itself without force. Start with the body. Bring awareness to the space behind your eyes, the corners of your mouth, the weight of your hands. Feel the rise and fall of your chest as you breathe. Perhaps you discover a slight tension, a shoulder drawn a little higher than the other, a subtle tightness in the belly. Instead of trying to loosen it, simply witness it. Imagine you are watching a soft mist roll across a quiet valley. The mist does not need to be pushed away. It moves and shifts on its own. Your awareness is enough. Now listen to your thoughts as if they were distant voices across a wide lake. You do not need to answer them. Watch them ripple and fade, arriving and leaving with their own rhythm. When a familiar worry tries to pull you in, picture it as a single leaf floating down a slow-moving stream. Your role is not to chase or capture it, only to notice its passage. In this gentle observation, resistance begins to soften, not because you forced it to, but because you gave it space to be seen. At first, this practice may feel unfamiliar. The mind might protest, insisting it must fix or control. Yet, beneath that impulse lies a quiet truth. What we observe without judgment loosens its grip. You do not have to solve your resistance. You only need to witness it. Like the moon reflecting on a still pond, your calm attention reveals what was always there without disturbing the water. Recognizing resistance is an act of compassion toward yourself. It says, I am willing to see what I carry without turning away. This simple willingness transforms the way you meet each moment. A tense jaw becomes not a problem, but a messenger. A racing thought becomes not a trap, but a passing cloud. In this way, even discomfort becomes a teacher, one that guides you back to presence again and again. As you rest in this awareness, something subtle begins to unfold. The patterns you once fought against reveal their own fragility. You may notice that the tension in your shoulders, once so heavy, begins to shift like sand beneath gentle waves. The repetitive thoughts that once demanded attention Now move with less urgency. You have not forced them to change. You have allowed them to be, and in that allowance, they transform. Practical release. Letting go with ease. Imagine you're holding a handful of pebbles. At first, your grip feels natural. You don't even notice the tension in your hand. The longer you hold on, the heavier it seems. Letting go is not about prying your fingers open with force. It's about realizing you can simply loosen your hand and allow the pebbles to fall. Tonight, we'll explore how to soften that invisible grip in the mind and body, so resistance melts away like ice meeting warm water. Begin by noticing your breath. There's no need to change it or make it perfect. Just notice. Inhale gently through the nose and feel the coolness as the air enters. Exhale through the mouth and notice the subtle warmth as it leaves. With each breath, picture a slow tide flowing in and out, washing the edges of your awareness. This simple act of noticing creates space between you and the thoughts that cling. Like tiny burrs, as you breathe, shift attention to your body. Close your eyes, if you like, and imagine a soft light tracing the shape of your forehead. Sense the muscles across your brow gently smoothing, as though someone has whispered permission to relax. Move down to the eyes. Feel the small muscles soften, the ones you rarely notice until they finally let go. Allow this awareness to travel like a gentle ripple to your jaw. Unclench, even slightly. There's nothing you must hold. Next, glide. The ripple of attention down your neck and shoulders. You may find pockets of tightness hiding like knots in a rope. Rather than forcing them to loosen, simply notice. Visualize the tension as frost on a window pane. With each breath, a quiet sun rises and the frost begins to melt, drop by drop. You don't rush it. You simply witness the natural change. Continue scanning through your arms, chest, and down the spine. Let your awareness linger where the body whispers for a moment of care, perhaps in the small of your back or the bend of your knees. This is not a checklist. It is a slow conversation between presence and the places that have waited to be heard. Now, when you reach the soles of your feet, imagine them resting on warm earth. Feel the ground supporting you, steady and unshaken. You are not holding yourself up alone. The earth beneath you is already doing that. Notice the quiet relief in that realization. When you feel settled, invite a brief visualization. Picture the resistance you carry, worries, old stories, the subtle strain of needing to control as a soft gray mist surrounding your body. This mist is not an enemy. It's simply energy that has lingered. Now, with each exhale, imagine a gentle light forming in the center of your chest. At first, it's the size of a candle flame. With each breath, it grows warmer, brighter, like dawn spreading across a quiet landscape. As this light expands, it touches the mist. The gray begins to thin, turning translucent like morning fog kissed by sunlight. You don't push it away. You simply allow the light of your awareness to dissolve it. Notice how the mist transforms, not disappearing through force, but shifting into something clear, like air after rain. Take a moment to rest in this openness. Feel how the space around you and within you merges. The edges between your body and the quiet world soften. The effort to manage every thought begins to fall away, not because you demanded it, but because you no longer cling. This is the heart of release, not a dramatic cutting of ties, but a gentle loosening. Resistance cannot survive when it is met with kind attention. It melts like ice in warm water, without struggle, without sound. When you're ready, slowly bring awareness back to your breath. Feel the subtle rise and fall in the chest. Notice how the air moves more freely now, as though the body itself has remembered an ancient ease. Let your eyes open when you wish, carrying with you the quiet knowledge that letting go is less about effort and more about trust. The shift you sense is not just in the mind. It is a quiet reordering of energy, a reminder that freedom often begins with the simplest act of noticing. You may find that this light you've awakened continues to move with you, a quiet companion reminding you that release is always near. In the days ahead, when tension returns or old thoughts stir, you can recall this practice. A breath, a gentle scan, a light within the chest. These are not tasks to complete, but invitations to remember. Letting go is not a final destination. It is a living practice, available in every breath you take. And each time you return to it, the world feels just a little wider, a little softer, and infinitely more at ease. Signs your timeline is shifting. Have you ever felt as though life was quietly rearranging itself behind the scenes, as if unseen hands were preparing something new? When your timeline is shifting, it rarely announces itself with grand fireworks. Instead, it whispers. The first hints are often subtle, so subtle that you might question whether you're imagining them. Yet, these gentle signals are the very evidence that your inner work is beginning to ripple outward. One of the most common signs is the sudden appearance of synchronicities. Those curious coincidences that seem too precise to be random. Perhaps you think of a friend you haven't spoken to in years, and moments later, their message arrives. Maybe you keep seeing the same sequence of numbers 11 to 22 on clocks, receipts, or license plates. These patterns are not mere chance. They are the universe's way of winking at you, of confirming that your internal alignment is echoing through the quantum field. Each time you notice these patterns, it's as if reality is leaning closer, whispering, "You are exactly where you need to be." Sudden opportunities are another unmistakable clue. They can appear like doors you never noticed before, suddenly swinging open, a job offer that seems perfectly tailored to your hidden talents, an unexpected invitation that leads you to the very mentor you needed, or a chance encounter that shifts the course of your journey. These openings often arise just when you've released your grip on how things should unfold. By trusting the flow and loosening the need to control, you create space for reality to surprise you. Equally telling is an inner calm that seems to arrive uninvited, even when outer circumstances have not yet caught up to your vision. A quiet confidence begins to bloom. The old anxieties lose their grip. What once provoked fear now meets your steady breath. This serenity is not apathy, it's resonance. It means your inner frequency is stabilizing at a higher level, and your outer world is preparing to reflect that harmony. It is the soil in which transformation takes root. Sometimes you may notice that people or situations that once defined your daily life begin to drift away. Old relationships might fade gently, or habits that no longer serve you may feel heavy and naturally fall aside. Though it can feel bittersweet, this release is a natural clearing. A shifting timeline often requires that you travel lighter, shedding the patterns of a previous version of yourself. As you let go, you make room for connections and experiences aligned with your emerging reality. Physical sensations can also speak of transformation. A sudden burst of energy after weeks of fatigue, a tingling in the body during meditation, or even an unexpected lightness in your step. These are the body's quiet acknowledgments that something within is realigning. These signals are not to be feared but welcomed, like the gentle hum of a new frequency settling into your cells. You might also experience moments where time itself feels different. Hours may pass like minutes when you are immersed in creative flow, or a single conversation may stretch into an endless, timeless space. These shifts in perception remind you that time is not as rigid as it seems. It bends and breathes with your consciousness. Such experiences invite you to wonder what else might be possible when you live beyond the clock's ordinary rhythm. And then there are those unexpected coincidences that carry a personal message. A book that falls open to the exact words you need. A song that plays the lyric that answers a silent question. A stranger whose story mirrors your own hopes. These moments are not merely comforting, they are guideposts. They reassure you that the work you've been doing in silence is not lost. The universe is responding down to nurture this shift. Remain gently curious. Treat each sign not as proof to be dissected, but as a conversation to be continued. When you notice a pattern, pause and breathe it in. When an opportunity appears, trust the timing. When calm settles over you, allow it to deepen. The more you engage these experiences with openness, the more fluidly your new timeline unfolds. Remember, a shifting timeline is not about forcing life to change overnight. It is about allowing your inner transformation to harmonize with the greater field of reality. The signs, synchronicities, opportunities, inner calm are your invitations to trust the unseen. As you continue to honor these whispers, you will find that what once felt like coincidence now feels like guidance, and what once seemed far away begins to arrive in perfect rhythm. Living in the higher frequency, imagine your inner world as a luminous garden, each thought and feeling like a delicate bloom that responds to the quality of your attention. Living in a higher frequency is not a race to a finish line. It is the gentle art of tending this garden day after day. The flowers of gratitude, the sturdy trees of conscious language, and the tranquil ponds of meditation all thrive when nourished with steady care. This is not about holding a perfect state, but about creating an environment where your vibration naturally remains elevated. Even when life's seasons change, begin with gratitude, the fertile soil of every high vibration. When you wake, let your first thoughts be simple acknowledgments, the softness of your bed, the breath in your lungs, the unseen network of life that carries you. Gratitude is not merely listing blessings. It is feeling the warmth of appreciation radiate through your body. Each time you pause to notice even the smallest beauty, a shaft of morning light, the sound of distant laughter, you anchor your energy in abundance. These moments create a subtle yet powerful resonance that ripples through your day, making higher frequencies your natural home. Your words are the water that nourishes or withers your garden. Conscious language is more than positive thinking. It is the art of speaking with awareness. Notice how the words you choose shape the energy around you. When you replace "I can't" with "I'm learning," you shift the soil beneath your own roots. When you speak with kindness, even to yourself, you send quiet blessings into the world. Each phrase is like a gentle rain or a sudden frost. By choosing carefully, you create a climate where high vibration can flourish without effort. Meditative check-ins are the daily sunlight. You need not retreat for hours to feel the glow. A single mindful breath between tasks, a 2-minute pause to feel your heartbeat, or the simple act of watching thoughts drift by like clouds. Each is a way to return to presence. These small practices keep the garden alive, ensuring that your higher frequency is not a fleeting moment, but an ongoing state of being, like a gardener who walks the paths each morning. You are simply noticing, adjusting, and allowing what grows to thrive. There will be days when weeds of doubt or fear appear. This is natural. Weeds are not a failure, but a reminder to return to. Care. Instead of judging yourself for slipping into old patterns, greet those moments with curiosity. Ask what they are teaching you. Sometimes the very presence of a weed shows where more light and attention are needed. By meeting these moments without resistance, you transform potential setbacks into nourishment for deeper growth. Living in higher frequency is not about constant bliss. It is about cultivating resilience, the quiet confidence that you can meet any shift in energy and return to alignment. This resilience builds over time, like roots growing deeper with each passing season. Each practice of gratitude, each mindful word, each meditative breath strengthens these roots, so that even when storms arrive, your inner garden stands firm and radiant as you nurture your own vibration. Notice how it touches others. Energy is contagious. Your calm presence can soothe a restless room. Your kind words can inspire someone you may never meet again. Without effort, you become a silent invitation for others to rise. The personal becomes collective. Your private practice becomes a gentle wave of awakening that reaches far beyond what you can see. This is the quiet beauty of higher frequency living. It is both personal and universal. By tending your inner garden, you help the larger garden of humanity to flourish. Each moment of gratitude sends roots of hope deeper into our shared soil. Each conscious word plants seeds of understanding. Each breath of meditation releases a subtle fragrance of peace into the world. So, as you move forward, remember that this is not about arriving at a final destination. The garden is alive, always changing, always offering new blossoms to care. 4. There is no finish line, only the ongoing dance of growth and renewal. With every breath, you are both the gardener and the garden, shaping and being shaped. Giving and receiving, living in the higher frequency, is the art of this dance. It is the choice to cultivate light, to water your inner blossoms with gratitude, to speak words that nourish, and to pause often enough to feel the gentle sunlight of presence. In doing so, you not only sustain your own vibration, but also illuminate the path for others, creating a collective harmony that quietly transforms the world. The ripple effect on collective reality. Imagine dropping a single pebble into a still pond. The ripples do not stop where the stone falls. They spread outward, touching every edge of the water. In much the same way, the subtle changes in your own inner world never remain confined to you alone. Every breath you take in a higher state of awareness sends an unseen wave through the field of life around you. Even when you feel alone in your quiet practice, the resonance of your transformation travels farther than you can measure. When you lift your own frequency through meditation, gratitude, or conscious living, you become like a tuning fork struck into motion. Others nearby, even without words, sense the gentle vibration and begin to resonate with it. This is not wishful thinking. It is a natural law of energy. Consider the warmth that spreads when someone enters a room with genuine joy. It isn't only their smile you notice, it is the subtle atmosphere they carry, a presence that makes others breathe a little deeper and relax without knowing why. Your energy, too, has that quiet power. Scientists and mystics alike speak of something called morphic fields, a kind of invisible pattern that holds memory and form. Think of it as the shared blueprint of life, an energetic network that connects us all. When one person tunes to a higher pattern, that field is ever so slightly rewritten, making it easier for others to rise as well. Just as birds turn in perfect unison or fish move like one living tapestry, humanity shares an unseen rhythm. Your own awakening is a note in that grand, evolving symphony. Perhaps you have noticed this ripple effect in small, everyday ways. A single act of patience in a tense conversation can soften everyone's tone. A quiet moment of kindness can inspire another to pass it on, creating a chain of unexpected generosity. These simple moments are not accidents. They are the outward signs of a collective resonance. What begins as a private choice inside you becomes a subtle invitation for others to match the frequency you embody. Imagine again the image of many tuning forks. When one begins to vibrate, those around it, without being struck, begin to sing the same note. The room fills with a shared sound, each fork reinforcing the other, until the air itself hums with harmony. In this way, every personal breakthrough you experience, every time you release an old fear or embrace a deeper love, adds strength to the song of humanity's awakening. You may never meet the countless lives touched, but the resonance is real, rippling outward like a tide that cannot be contained. This truth can be both humbling and thrilling. Humbling because it reminds you that your journey is woven into something far larger than personal success or struggle. Thrilling because it reveals how much your presence matters. You are not waiting for the world to change before you do. The world begins to change because you do. Every inner shift becomes a silent message to the collective. There is another way, a higher possibility, a gentler rhythm waiting to be embraced. And as more people step into that rhythm, the field itself begins to transform. What once felt like isolated sparks of awakening becomes a constellation of light across the planet. Cultures may differ, languages may vary, but the essence of this movement is the same. Hearts opening, consciousness expanding, humanity remembering its shared pulse. Each new awakening makes it easier for the next, like lanterns passed hand to hand, each flame lighting the path for those who follow. This is the ripple effect on collective reality. It begins quietly in the privacy of your own inner work. Yet it carries the potential to shape the very fabric of human experience. You may never see the full reach of your influence, and that is part of its quiet beauty. Like a gentle breeze that stirs the entire forest, your presence moves through the world in ways you cannot track. Yet the movement is felt. So when you meditate, when you forgive, when you choose compassion over fear, you are not only tending to your own soul, you are contributing to the awakening of all. Your growth is not a solitary climb. It is a bridge, a subtle invitation that others can cross without even knowing who built it. This understanding is not meant to burden you, but to remind you of the quiet magnificence of your role. Allow this awareness to inspire you. Let it draw you back to your practice with a deeper sense of purpose. Each moment of inner alignment is an offering to the greater whole, a note of harmony in the evolving song of humanity. As you continue your journey of growth, know that every step sends ripples across the vast ocean of collective consciousness, inviting all of us toward a world more awake, more connected, and more alive than we have yet imagined. Embracing the lifelong journey, imagine the night sky stretching above you, infinite and unhurried. Each star glimmers like a silent invitation, a reminder that the universe is never still, and neither are you. What we call jumping timelines isn't a single leap or a dramatic finish. It's more like learning the rhythm of the stars themselves, a quiet, lifelong dance of awareness and surrender. The first step is not a grand action. It is simply noticing the moment you're in, and the way possibility shimmers all around you. You may have thought of this journey as a destination, something to reach and check off a list. But tonight, under this endless sky, you can feel how that idea gently dissolves. There is no finish line. There is only the unfolding of your own, becoming like a river finding new paths to the sea. Each choice you make, each breath you take, creates ripples that carry you toward the next horizon. The timelines are not doors that close behind you. They are living streams, forever flowing, inviting you to wade in again and again. When you release the need for a perfect ending, the dance becomes lighter. It is not about doing more or rushing faster. It is about truly listening to the subtle whispers of your own heart. The more you trust those whispers, the more life opens, like a book that was always meant for you. You are not chasing a single story. You are co-authoring countless stories, each one reflecting a new facet of your soul's light. Some nights, doubt may creep in like a quiet fog. You might wonder if the shifts you seek are even real. In those moments, remember the night sky again. The stars do not shout to be believed. They simply shine. Your path is the same. Even when unseen, change is alive within you, quietly rearranging the patterns of your reality. Trust does not demand proof. It asks only that you lean gently into what you cannot yet name. With every breath, you are already moving between possibilities. A single thought of gratitude can soften an entire day. A small act of kindness can open a door you never knew existed. These are not small things. They are the very language of the universe, speaking through you. Every timeline you touch responds to the energy you carry, and the energy you carry is shaped by the simplest of choices. To pause, to notice, to love. As you continue on, imagine each choice as a lantern you hang in the dark. Over time, these lanterns form a constellation of your own making. Look back, and you will see how each quiet decision, each moment of surrender, has drawn a pattern more beautiful than any single leap could create. This is the art of living timelines. Not a single jump, but a lifetime of gentle illuminations. There will be days of effortless flow, when the path ahead gleams like morning light. There will also be days when the ground feels unsteady, when the old stories tug at your sleeves. Both belong. Both are part of the dance. The timelines do not punish you for pausing or for questioning. They wait patiently, like stars that never burn out, ready for you to step forward when you are ready again. And so you return again and again to the simplest of truths. You are the observer and the creator. Your presence, the quiet awareness behind every thought, is the key that opens every path. No matter how far you wander, this awareness is home. It is the still point from which every timeline begins and to which every journey returns. In this awareness, even the idea of jumping timelines softens. It becomes less about reaching and more about remembering. Remembering that you are not separate from the infinite. Remembering that the very fabric of reality responds to the openness of your heart. Each time you surrender to this remembering, the next step appears without effort, like a star appearing in the dusk. Tonight, as you settle deeper into the quiet, let this vision linger, infinite timelines shimmering like a field of stars. Each one is a path of possibility, a song waiting for your note. You do not need to choose the right one. Simply release resistance, and the one that matches your readiness will meet you halfway. This is not the end of your journey, but a gentle beginning that repeats every moment. Trusting that even the smallest act of openness can shift the shape of your world. Let the excitement of that truth be soft and steady, like the heartbeat of the night when you wake tomorrow. You will carry this quiet knowing that your life is not a single story to be finished, but a constellation of ever-folding possibilities. And with each breath, each choice, you are already rising